Um, Hi, Amy. We've got the PM live stream up. So and um, member member Kabir is not in the room because she has a conflict. So you're acting chair for item 19, 27
Understood.
Rockwood.
Are we good to start? Are we
Yes,
live?
yes, we are.
Okay, great. Thank you for the confirmation, Colin. Okay, so with that, do we have the applicant? I believe his name is Nadeem. Is Nadeem on the line?
Madam Chair, I am.
Perfect. Thank you, Nadeem. And just to confirm, we have two members of the public wanting to speak today. Is Tom on the line?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Tom. Thank you. As well as Suzanne Brown. Is Suzanne Brown there?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you. So let's get started. I see that there is a variance application before us today in order to permit the development of a two-story detached dwelling on the site at 27 Rockwood Drive. The variance pertains to the maximum area of a platform, the maximum permitted height, side yard setback, and floor space area, as well as another height requirement from the old bylaw. Now, Nadeem, would you like to give us a presentation, or would you like to just jump right into the discussion?
I would like to make a presentation.
Okay, and before you just do that, I noticed that there are two urban forestry conditions. Are you aware of those two conditions?
Madam Chair, I was not able to see on the portal. This is a news to me.
Okay, so before we go into your presentation, let's just confirm with Brian what those two conditions are to ensure that you understand them and are agreeable to them.
Through the chair, I can confirm the two conditions. If you give me one moment here.
Okay.
Yes, it's condition number 2, and condition number 2 reads: submission of a complete application for a permit to injure or remove a privately owned tree. That's the
We
condition.
acknowledge that.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. So if you accept that, that's great, and you can move into your presentation, please, Nadeem.
Sure. I would like to request the staff to bring up the site plan on the screen. Ryan?
Through the chair, we 5 minutes for the presentation.
Thank you, Colin. Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Just zoom in the front porch area. Madam Chair, for item number 1, which is the balcony area, the permitted is 4 square meter, and we are proposing 5.95. I wanted to mention we have a ground floor porch, and the balcony is actually is located right above it. So the additional square meter is based on the front porch, and we believe this is minor in nature and should be considered for approval. Item number 2 and 3 pertain to height. It was not our intention to request for the height. I think it's just 9.01 if we look at the front elevation, and 9.07. It's the way the zoning examiner interpreted it and listed as 2 variances. We believe these are very, very minor in nature and should be considered for approval. Coming to the variance number 3, side yard. I wanted to go back to the site plan and zoomed into the southwest corner of the garage. A little bit more, if possible. The dimension there is 1.17. The requirement is 1.2 meter. The 0.85 is only at the corner of the property. If I may say, for the bylaw, exception 190 allows the garage to be built at 0.3 meter from the side lot line. So the ground floor complies or actually exceeds the bylaw requirement. We could build this wall at 0.3 meter from the property line, southern property line, and would comply with the bylaw requirement. It is the second floor wall, which is only the back portion, which requires 0.85, has the 0.85 meter setback. At the front, it's 1.17. It's half an, 1.25 inch shy of the bylaw requirement. If we were to stand in front of the house, the front wall on the north side will have 1.2 meter, and the front wall from the southern property line will have 1.17 meter. So it basically negligible. The only portion, because the property line is angled, the second floor wall needs the variance 0.35 meter. We believe that this is very minor in nature and should be considered for approval. Going forward, the item number 4 for FSI, the permitted is 0.4 times the lot area, and the proposed is 0.43. It's about 22 square meter, 22.8. If we divide the floor area into 2 levels, ground floor and second floor, it's 11.4. There is no variance for the coverage. There is no variance for the front yard. There's no variance for the rear yard. This lot coverage, if we were to reduce it, it would be at the back wall. It is not our wish to reduce it, but it will not create any impact on the neighbors. It is, like another applicant said, density is not alone an indicator of negative impact of on the surroundings. If we were to build as of right, it will be similar proposal, very similar proposal, and will not cause any negative impact on the neighborhood or neighbors. Community planning staff have reviewed this application. They have no comments. Therefore, we request the committee to consider this for approval. And we conclude our presentation and open for any questions from the members.
Thank you, Nadeem. Very helpful. Now, I do have a question before I open it to the rest of my committee members if they have any questions. I recognize what you're saying about the side yard setback. And my question for you is, if we do permit, if it is something that the committee chooses to approve of, a reduced side yard setback to that 0.8, would you be agreeable for us to tie it to the site plan to ensure that you're only putting that 0.8 relief where you have the garage component, and that you will not be expanding the rest of the dwelling to that 0.8? Would you be agreeable to that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody else on the committee have questions for Nadeem? I see Mr. Saeed has his hand up. Go ahead, Mohammed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, Mr. Nadeem, this is just a clarification question. I could not follow you in the very beginning. I was looking at my notes. Anyway, my question is about variance number 1. I just got your point that you were saying that it's exceeding 4 square meter, almost like 5.95, 2 square meter. So the reason you were giving was that there is a porch, and I think you told it's exactly the same size built over the porch, the second story. Scott, am I right on that?
Yes.
Okay, so follow-up question will be, there will be a way to reduce this to the allowed limit because it could raise some observations from the neighbors, a privacy issue like that?
It can be reduced by just moving the front, the railing just a little bit back, and it'll still serve as a balcony. But I'm not sure what we are going to achieve with that because the main issue of the privacy, it'll still be there. Perhaps the privacy is usually considered in the backyard. So that's why we decided to put the balcony at the front rather than having it to be at the back of the property, which is considered private area.
Thank you very much. Thank you, madam.
If there's no other questions from the members for Nadim, I'm going to move forward to opening the floor to the first public individual. Is there any further questions from Member Macaulay or Member McCaig? Okay, great. So Tom, please feel free to state your case, and you have 5 minutes, please.
Hi, can we bring up slide 1, please? Madam Chair, committee members, I take the role of president of the Cliffcrest Scarborough Village Residents Association very seriously. And the neighbors I represent in this community are troubled by how developers are indiscriminately using variances to impose an unprecedented level of undesirable change. In the previous file, we saw the consequences of oversized variance-driven facades in changing the streetscape, and it appears Rockwood could be next. The community values its trees and the open, uncrowded nature of the streets and the homes with acceptable side and front yard setbacks and homes in scale with the lots and the neighbors. Now, I have to digress and say that the presentation, I think that the architect has good intent, and it's just unfortunate that they can't just build within the bylaw because it's an incremental problem. And so you are building bigger and bigger homes. And we know if we look at the slide 2, we know that, you know, this is what this house is in scale. Now, it would only be, you know, maybe 5% less if they built within the bylaw, but it's kind of the cumulative effect. And so I'm sad because I know that someone's trying to do a good job, and yet it's that issue of just always pushing for more and not understanding why we can't just build within the bylaws. If you look at slide 3, this is if everybody does this, then this is what you get, and we saw that on Harewood, and we see it on other streets. Now, I know that that's not the responsibility of the architect to think about what the consequences of what they're doing is in the future. But if they only stuck within the bylaw, they could feel a little better about it. So I will just quickly comment that there were 4 letters of support. Sorry, they were forms with no indication of why this individual supported the application, or that they understood the nature of the variances, or that they were understood anything about this. There was no indication whether they were homeowners or whether the landlord asked them to sign. And there was nothing but a 1-minute effort to fill out a few lines on a form that someone else submitted. So the weight of those letters of support are self-evident. In contrast, the 2 letters of objection that were filed by owners of the neighbor indicate both have reviewed the drawings, understand the impact themselves and the neighborhood they enjoy. Min and Xian, the abutting neighbors to the north, will have to live in the shadow and physical presence of this oversized home. Even building within the bylaw would have an impact on them. But my point is that that impact should be minimized by having the bylaw respected. I think I'm concerned that this is the first step in destabilizing the nature of Rockwood. And I do believe that setbacks should be respected as design criteria. And, you know, if the size of this home and the double car garage were required, then a larger lot should have been purchased where the bylaws would have been more suitable. So we would prefer that the 30% variance for side yard setback be refused. I think I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Does any members of committee have further questions for Tom? Okay, I see none. Let's move on to Suzanne, please.
Oh, hi. Yes, I'm just here because I'm a member of the Board of Directors for the York Condo Corporation, 257, and we share a fence, our back fence, with 27 Rockwood. So our main concern was just basically if they were going to be making any changes to the fence. And there's also, I'm not sure with the forestry what tree they were going to cut down, if it was the one in the front or the one in the back, because the tree in the back is extremely large and it has broken and fallen onto our property. So that was our concern if they had any plans on removing the massive branches that have fallen onto our property.
Thank you, Suzanne. I'm going to defer your question to the applicant, Nadeem. Can you please address Suzanne in her inquiry to the rear yard condition of the fence as well as the trees, please?
Um, It is not our intention to remove any trees other than what is located at the front, just to have a car driveway. But at the back, I can inform the owners to clean up the broken tree branches.
Thank you, Nadeem. Now, does any members of the committee have any further questions for Suzanne Brown? Member Said?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And while hearing the concern of Cassandra, and I wonder if there has been any consultation between the owner or the applicant and the other party. Nadeem, have you done any consultations with the neighbors?
My client has reached out to the community members at the front of the property and the side. We have four support letter. One is 25 Rockwood, and I'm not sure if they reached out to the neighbors at the back.
The neighbors at the back are on this call, and I didn't hear from Suzanne that she had any concerns unless it was relating to the tree or the fence. Is that correct, Suzanne?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. So, Member Said, I'm hearing from the applicant here that he has got support from one of the adjacent neighbors, as well as no objection from the rear. Now, that being said, once again, we have to focus on the variances before us. And I understand that Mr. Cassandra is concerned about the incremental change that happens in a neighborhood. But I do want to say that the purpose of the minor variance process is to allow for small deviations from the zoning bylaw. So once again, I would like our committee to look at the 5 variances we have before us and ensure that you can apply the 4 tests to see if they are appropriate in terms of their intent from the zoning bylaw and the official plan. Now with that, I'm going to go back to Nadeem. And Nadeem, you've heard all of the concerns from Tom. Would you like to provide any sort of addressing of any of those issues that he had raised?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'd like Brian to bring up the slides for the front of the house where Mr. Cassandra has tried to portray the proposed development. The one before. I like to comment that this is not a realistic, image, and the height, the massing, and the scale is over skewed and enlarged just to portray that it is a massive, development. But if we again go back to our, first discussion of the side yard setback, if I were to stand in front of the building, I look at the side north side yard dimension 1.2 meter and the south side yard 1.17, and I look at the height, which is negligible. It's 9 meter, and that's how I read this proposal. And the extra square footage is going to be towards the back, and we have to see that there's no building length variance. There's no negative impact by allowing minor density onto the rear yard setback. The lot is large enough to support the amenity space at the front, at the back, on the sides, and we believe this meets the 4 test, and we request the committee to consider for approval.
Through the chair, do you wish to add anything?
No, I think that addresses it. I don't see anything further unless we want to take it into committee. Okay, so let's take this into committee then. Thank you everybody for contributing your comments. Hi, Anne. Yes, you're still on mute.
Thank you. I have moved my computer around so that I don't have as much of a background. Too much sun coming into my office, which is causing us problems in the morning. However, the item I wanted to address now is to point out to the resident who had a concern that there is a condition of approval, which is submission of a complete application for a permit to injure or remove a privately owned trees as per the city of Toronto Municipal Code. So that in approval of this application and getting a building permit, that the applicant will have to address both trees, the one in the front and the one in the rear. And hopefully that would resolve some of their issues. That's all my comments.
Thank you, Anne. Well, if I see no other comments, can we please put forward a motion? Gary, you're still on mute, my friend.
Yes, thank you. Madam Chair, yes, having considered the relevant tests, I think that we are dealing with a minor variance here. So I put forward a motion for approval of this application, subject to the urban forestry conditions. Thank you.
Gary, would you like to consider including an additional condition that the applicant said he was agreeable to tie the development to the site plan?
Fine. Okay. All right.
So do you mind just restating?
All right, I'll move approval of the minor variance application, subject to the urban forestry condition, and subject to, you're going to have subject to tying it to the site plan. I'm going to need some help here. Okay.
Thank you, Gary. Can I have a seconder, please? Second by Anne McCauley. All in favor? All right. Nadeem, your application has been approved and has been carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member M. You did a great job. Let me log into my system. Oh, it timed me out, so it's just going to take me a minute. All right, thank you. So the next item that was held was item number 24, I believe. Okay, item 24 is for 899 Victoria Park Avenue. 24, okay. And we have with us Mohammed Taxiwala as the applicant, or the agent and the owner. Mohammed, you're with us? Okay. All right, I'll give you a few seconds to connect to Mohammed while I introduce the application. And I also have Hao Din as the member who has registered to speak in opposition. Hao, are you there?
I am.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So just bear with us for a few minutes. So 89 Victoria Park Avenue is an application before us. The purpose is to construct a new two-story detached dwelling, and we have before us one variance, which is seeking to for relief on the proposed height. Mohammed, are you back?
Through the chair, he seems to be having difficulties. I could try and contact him, though, if you'd like.
Sure.
Hello, can you hear me?
Perfect. Okay.
Yes, you can hear me. Oh, perfect. Whew, I've been sitting here for the several hours now and hoping that my voice will be heard. So thank you for hearing me out.
Your voice is certainly heard, and I appreciate your wait and patience for that. So,
No problem.
so Mohammed, I just introduced the application. You know, we have a resident who is here in opposition, but we would like to hear from you with regards to your application. It is a minor variance application, and it's seeking only one variance.
That's correct. I'll give a brief introduction so you have a bit of context.
Mm-hmm.
We started building our family house a while ago, and the exterior structure, including the roof, was built in April of 2015. Since then, we've just had some troubles with our contractor and securing financing to move the project forward, and now we are in a position to finally complete the house, and us and our family are very excited for that. However, as part of finishing the exterior, we found out that our height of the building, as it stands now and has been standing since April 2015, is 0.2 meters above the city's requirements. Reconstructing the roof would be very costly, and we haven't really budgeted for that, so it would be quite a grievance for us. We contacted our neighbors as a result, and many of them have signed a letter of support, which has been put forward. And they're just looking forward to welcoming us into the community and finally having our house complete. So we've got some really good positive feedback from everyone. So we just kindly request that the committee review our application and approve the minor variance, as we do believe it's minor in nature.
Thank you. Thank you, Mohammed. So in terms of inches, how many inches does it equate to, that increase of 0.21 meters?
I'm an accountant by trade, but I will use Google to do that quick conversion.
I would say probably
7 inches, 7.8, sorry.
7 inches, 7 to 8 inches. Okay, all right.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much. Members of the committee, any questions for Mohammed at this time? Okay. Thank you for your time, Mohammed. And we will now speak with the resident, Hao Din. So Hao, you're online with us, but I also want to state that we did receive your letter. We have it on file. We did review it. Is there anything else that you would like to add in addition to what you've already mentioned to us in the letter?
Well, I'm strictly here to understand why this house should be 0.28 meters, which is higher than the rest of us. I just feel that it will depreciate the value of my house as the immediate next door neighbor, because I am looking to sell my house fairly soon. And my house actually will look very small in comparison.
Okay, so do you currently live in a single-story home?
Correct.
Okay, so just want to clarify, how for your benefit, that the zoning bylaw allows a 2-story house in this area, and the maximum permitted house, the height for any 2-story building is 9 meters. So if you want to go and redo your house today, you can build up to 9 meters. What
Yes.
Mohammed is doing is he exceeds the maximum height by 0.21 meters, which equates to 7 or 8 inches. So it's only an additional 7-8 inches beyond what he is permitted. Does that help you with your question, or would you like us to request Mohammed to respond?
No, I fully understand what they're trying to do. What I'm saying is that because it is 0.21 meter higher than my house, is not in favor of the rest of the community, which is 9 meter maximum.
Okay, all right.
Which my house is currently sitting at 9 meters.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else that you have concern with?
Well, I also have turbine on my roof, which will be blocked by the roof because my turbine is approximately 0.2 meters in height, and it will be blocked by the south house on the south of my properties. Well, the south, yes. So both of my turbine will be ineffective.
Okay, so unfortunately, I cannot help you with your turbine situation. The zoning bylaw does not have any regulations to that effect or can help you with that. But I'm going to now turn it over to Mohammed. Mohammed, you heard Mr. Howden's concerns. Could you please respond to his concerns?
Most definitely. I'll speak in three. So I have 3 points for Mr. Howe. Number one, Mr. Howe purchased his property after April 2015. We actually had a really good relationship with the neighbors who used to own the property. We lived in their house as a tenant. So they already, Mr. Howe was aware of the height of the house when he purchased the property. If he had any concerns with that property, with the height of the property, he could have just not bought the house. That was one thing. The other thing Mr. Howe mentioned is that he confirmed that he lived in a 1-story residence. It's actually a 2-story. It's a newly constructed, it's also newly constructed, and if anything, when you look at the houses side by side, they look very similar in height, if not equal. So there's no proof that I have that I could even say whether or not his house is shorter than ours. So the difference is very negligible. All the other neighbors even like the neighbor who has a bungalow next to ours, whose house is actually shorter than ours, has no concerns, has actually provided his phone number on the letter of support to say that, hey, I really support this application. So
Okay.
that's my point number 2. And the cost to fix for the 0.2 meters would be very detrimental to our family, and we just don't have the funds to budget for that. So we would appreciate if Mr. Howe understood our circumstance, and we meant no harm or no disregard for his concerns. So, apologies if it's offensive.
Okay, thank you very much, Mohammed. Members of the committee, any questions for Mohammed or Mr. Howe? I apologize, I forgot to ask if there was any question of Mr. Howe. Okay, all right. So, Mr. Howe, there are no further questions of you. We heard your concerns. Mohammed did respond to your concerns. If there are no further questions or comments, I would like to take the matter into committee and discuss this. All right, I see no comments or questions, so the matter is now into committee. Committee members, please, if there is any comment, let us know. If not, then can I please have a motion?
I feel that this application is minor. It's a matter of 7 inches that most likely won't be distinguishable from the second property to the south that is also 2 stories at 9 meters. There are no other variances being requested. It's just merely this one variance of an existing condition that has been there since 2015. So I'm supportive and prepared to put forward a motion subject to my fellow committee members.
So is that a motion?
No, it's not a motion yet. It's just confirming that no one has any other further questions before I put forward a motion. Got
it. Okay. Members of the committee, any further comment? Okay, I see none. Member M, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I am putting forward a motion of approval for the application at 899 Victoria Park Avenue. And I do see that there is no other further conditions. So yes, I recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member Gary?
Madam Chair, yes, I would second that approval and motion to allow the variance. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application has been approved and there are no conditions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You all have been great.
Thank you. All right. We move on to our next item that was held this morning. That is item number 25. And item 25 is for 14 PENAIRE Street. This is a consent and an associated minor variance application. We have with us Peter Jerusik.
Hello?
Hi there. Yes, Peter. Okay.
Hi.
Hi there. So just in terms of the introduction to the application, it's an application to sever the property into 2 residential lots, conveying part 1, retaining part 2, and each of the 2 parts has 8 variances. So each lot has 8 variances. We also have a staff report from community planning recommending refusing the application for both the consent and the associated minor variance. And for record, we have letters of objection as well on file. Mr. Jerusik, would you like to provide us with a brief presentation and
Yes, please.
and if you have had any discussions with community planning and what are the concerns of community planning?
Okay. Yes, I just want to note one thing here, which I didn't notice on the first time. There's 2 public hearing notices sent out the same day, and they were revised because of we had to add the corner rounding that was requested by the engineering department. But with that, between the one notice and the other notice, the revised notice says the proposed frontage is 7.74. I don't know how that got mistyped in the notice, but it's actually 8.74 on variance number 1.
Okay, so I have one public notice on the agenda, which is dated January 13. It says revised public notice. And on that
Yes.
notice, it has you're talking about the lot frontage?
Yes.
Okay, so it says the proposed lot frontage is 7.74. And what I'm hearing from you is that it should be how much?
8.74.
8.
They're larger lots.
So it
Yes.
is better than 7.74.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. There was 2 notices sent out the same day. One that corrected the road widening allowance after the one was sent out. The notice working with the planning staff there that the road widening wasn't incorporated. That's why stuff were in bold. But for some reason between the 2 notices, it went from 8.74, then it got dropped down to 7.74. So I just noticed that this morning because I wasn't looking at that one because it was correct in the first notice.
Okay.
So it's actually better, like larger lots, but our lots are 8.74 meters frontage.
Okay, so thank you for flagging that. So that is for the community's benefit and for those of you who are listening into the variance number 1 on this revised notice. The first variance, the proposed lot frontage is 8.74 and not 7.74. That's what I'm hearing from the applicant, but staff will confirm that with me.
Through the chair, there was an error in the notice. However, as you've correctly pointed out, is that since the variance is actually for
an improvement.
Notice has been fulfilled.
Okay. All right. So the advice that I'm getting from staff is that, yes, this was an error. It should have been 8.74, but because this is an improvement from the previous variance listed on the notice, it does not require a new notice, and it fulfills or meets the need for meets the notification requirements. Now, Peter Jerusik, before I proceed, which is the variance that is associated with the corner rounding you mentioned?
When you look at the coverage, you'll see the bold now 34.5% for part 2.
For part 2.
Oh,
okay.
variance number 3.
Okay. So variance
Right?
number
Before
3.
it was 33.8 for both, but when you take the corner rounding, it dropped the area and increased that coverage.
Got it. Okay. So committee members, you captured that. So variance number 3.
And 2 as well. And 2 as well has it for part 2.
And 2 as
area of
well.
the lot.
So variance number 2 and variance number 3 were revised for the part 2, one for the lot area and the other for the lot coverage because of the corner rounding, but it only affected the part 2. Okay? So thank you very much. So Peter, go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, regarding the variances, in severing the lots, of course, we do require the lot frontage and lot area. We've created the dwelling units to have a minimal impact in terms of the other zoning variances. The proposed side yard setbacks of 0.6 that we're requesting from the 0.9 allowed will be in between the newly built houses, so it's not affecting existing neighbors. That smaller variance is within the new buildings, which mitigates impact on any neighbors. The design of the house with the grading just requests an extra meter in height for the flat roof. We can comply by doing a pitched roof, but with the architectural style my client was looking for, we request a little bit higher with the roof requirement, which also has the parapet. Now, being it's a corner lot, there is the provision also, which is number 8 for the side driveway on any corner lots. However, engineering services has no concern with this, as both PENAIRE and Presley Avenue are local street roads, so they have no concern that the garages are all on PENAIRE Street with variance number 8. Now, regarding the planning department, we did work with them to a certain extent in terms of how much. We did originally have 13 variances with depth, balconies, and my client removed the balcony requirements, removed the depth. We comply with FSI. The coverages are minor, I'd say in nature, because from 33%, we're requesting 33.8. And the only reason why the other one is 34.5 on part 2 is because they're the same lots, but now the corner rounding decreases the lot area, which increased the coverage. Now, this area here, I don't know if Brian could put up a map of the neighborhood that's in it to show the lot fabric. This area is an area that has undergone some change over the course of the last 5-6 years. Just around the corner, so one house from our backyard, 50 Presley, has been severed. Also going down Presley towards Dawn side, 121, 123, and 125 Dawn side, A and B, were severed. Now, those were 50-foot lots that were permitted to be severed into 25-foot lots. Now, our property here is 57 feet lots, which we are greater than the 25-foot lots. But the last one that was recently severed was 50 Presley, which is, if you look at the backyard of our property, that's 49, and just north of that is 50. Now, all these applications, both the ones on Dawn's side, the 2 on Dawn's side, they went to the OMB and got ruled in the favor of the clients. Presley was one that went to TLAB in 2018, 2019, I believe is when they concluded it. And that did also was a decision from committee to deny it based on planning comments, but was overturned. Now, looking at the whole issue here, we look at planning wise, we have to look, of course, on the provincial growth plan, which prioritizes in the growth plan intensification, higher densities to make efficient use of land. Now, the official plan says we must respect and reinforce this. Now, it's a complex test, because when you look at the character of a neighborhood, you have to look at lot fabric, zoning standards, and architectural style and unity. In this area, there is no unifying architectural standards. You have some smaller bungalows with garages in the rear, some 2-story houses built in the 1980s with garages in the front, varying styles. So there's no consistent architectural styles throughout this neighborhood. In moving forward, when you look at the lot pattern, the majority of the lot patterns here are 40-foot lots. 40-foot lots, ours are 57. And the majority of the lots are 40. However, there is about 4 to 5% of the lots are around 25-foot lots or slightly larger. Even across the street from us, to the left, you can see 35 Bertha Avenue. That lot itself is the smallest in the neighborhood at 6 meters in width. And that's right across the street, just down the road from us in that area. Now, I don't know if Brian can pull up the other rows, or if it's locked into that map. But the interesting thing about PENAIRE Street here is we have 5 lots fronting onto PENAIRE in that lot fabric. Now, the road above us to the north is Florence. There's actually 6 lots fronting Florence on that side. And when you go a street down, which is Dawn side, there's 6 lots fronting Dawn side in that same width of property. So it's my opinion that this will not disrupt or take the character out of character of the community, as many of the lots. Yeah. So as we see here, Dawn side, there's 5 lots across Dawn side here, and across the street from those 5 lots are the ones that were severed at 25-foot lots. So when you look at the parcel fabric, there's already 5 lots previously approved there. We are in an area where it's PENAIRE's on a 5 lots there. But then on Florence again, to follow that same pattern, we're again at 6 lots. what I want to end in with here is the last T-Lab meeting was regarding 50 Presley, just north of us. And the member of the T-Lab went through and he concluded of this saying that only 3% of the houses in the study area will be candidates for severance because the majority of the lots in the area are too small to produce two lots in the 25% range. And
Peter,
he attested that it's about 9 to 10 lots in this neighborhood that are larger that could create these larger than
okay.
25-foot lots to be severed.
Peter, your
So I
time's
contest that
up.
these are,
So your time's up. So I would request you to start wrapping up, please.
yeah, I was just going to end that even the T-Lab noted that there's only a handful of lots that are larger, like this one on PENAIRE, that would be able to be severed. So we're not setting a precedent here that that as soon as this opens up, the entire neighborhood could be severed because the majority of the lots here are 40 foot or under, and that's accounts for about 75% of the lots, and they won't be able to sever. There's only about a handful, about maybe 9 or 10 lots that are larger than 50 feet that would have this area. And even severing it, we will still be higher than about 9 to 10 lots in this community that are already created that are around
Okay.
25 feet.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Members of the committee, any questions for Peter at this time? Okay, see none. And we did not have any registered speaker on this application. So if there are no further questions for Peter, is the committee ready to take the matter into committee? Okay, all right. So thank you, Peter. We are now going to take the matter into committee. Committee members, any comments, any questions, please? Amy.
Hi, so I hear what Mr. Jarusik is saying about the OMB hearings, but with that being said, it means that staff has been consistent with their message in the past. And in the message in the past, they have not supported severances to this small of a lot. And therefore, previous committee hearings have also sided with staff, and then it went to the LPAC. So I think it's very important for us as a committee to be consistent with how we approach some of these requests. And in my review of everything, I would like to maintain the recommendations of planning staff for refusal of this application because it just, to me, the size of the lots are just not appropriate for this area and therefore do not meet the intent of both the official plan or the bylaw.
Okay, thank you, Member M. Any other comment or member? Member Gary, please.
Yeah, so I'll just mention that according to my notes, the planning staff study, it was over 263 lots. I thought that was particularly thorough, and it found a frontage of around 12.6 meters. So I'm in agree with Member M that the subdivision, the 5124 criteria of the Planning Act are not met here.
Thank you, Member Gary. Any other comment? Okay, I see none. All right. If there are no further comments, could I please have a motion on this application? I'm waiting for a motion. Member M.
Thank you. So at the recommendation of staff, along with, the very thorough analysis provided in the lot area study and the past refusals of the committee, I think it's appropriate to also refuse the applications at 14 PENAIRE Street, both the severance as well as the minor variance applications. I do not feel that in its appropriate development for this lot in this area. I don't think that it maintains the official plan nor the zoning bylaw, and therefore is not minor in nature. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. May I have a seconder? Member Gary, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I think it's appropriate, and I second that motion to refuse both the consent application to sever and for the associated minor variances.
Thank you. All in favor of this motion? Motion carries. The application has been refused. Both the applications have been refused. Thank you, Peter, for your time. He's probably gone. Or no? That's okay. That's okay. All right. All right. Thank you. That brings us to the end of item 25. Item number 26 is 9 Dale Avenue. And this item was held because there was a speaker registered to speak on this application. So this application before us is for a consent and a minor variance application. It's to sever the property into 2 residential units, and there are associated variances for each of the parts, and there are 6 variances for each of the part. And we have with us the agent, Bruce Hall. Bruce, you're with us?
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon, Bruce. Just bear with us for a second. I will check if the member in opposition is here. Yinqing Wu and Ming Zhang, are you with us?
Yes, we're here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your patience. I know it's been a long day, but we will start with Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall, would you like to say something about your application, or would you like to provide us with a brief presentation?
Indeed, I would. Mr. Cardona has a visual presentation, and I will respect the time limit, and if I get close or over, please curb me.
I will do that. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Bruce Hall. I'm a partner with the Planning Partnership, and I act on behalf of the owners of this property for these 2 applications, or 3 rather, for a consent and 2 minor variances. Next slide, please. Just to briefly fix you, we are north and east of Scarborough Golf Club Road in Scarborough Village and south of the GO tracks. Largely a single family area, but as you can see, there is some intensification that is occurring in a few select projects. Next slide, please. Just in terms of some of the emerging context and character in the neighborhood, there's been a few things that have happened here over the last few years. There's some infill projects, townhouse on the west side of Scarborough Golf Club Road, and a semi and single detached development on a condominium road across the street. And as well, there's a grade separation project that Metrolinx is undertaking to rid Scarborough Golf Club Road of the level crossing. Next slide, please. Just to show you what that project's going to do to the area in terms of some of the changing context and fabric within the block. The 3 properties that you see directly to the west of the subject site in red that are marked in blue, these have been expropriated by Metrolinx and are to be demolished in order to make way for a change in grade to take Dale down to meet the new elevation of Scarborough Golf Club Road, which will then go underneath the railway tracks. Next slide, please. Here's the existing site. I call it a wide shallow. It is 32 meters wide, 105 feet by about 21.4 meters. It has an existing single detached bungalow, which sits between 3 and 6 meters from the rear lot line, about 7.5 meters from the front lot line, and almost squarely in the middle of the site. Next slide, please. Here's some of the existing vegetation, 2 very large mature maple trees in the front, which are being retained, and some existing vegetation along the side and rear yards. There is 1 tree to be removed, and I will deal with that in a moment. Next slide, please. Here are the proposed lots, and as you can see, it's proposal to divide it right down the middle. 16 meter frontages above the 15 meter requirement. The lots again are going to be placed almost squarely in the middle of the property. Now there will be a consistent almost 6 meter, 5.8, in fact, setback from the rear lot line instead of the jog. And it's been placed in the middle to allow for tree preservation and a tree preservation zone from these 2 large significant trees in the front yard. The existing vegetation along the side and rear will be maintained. Next slide, please. I will go through the specifics in a second, but it's really a single detached dwelling, 16 meter frontage, consistent with the 1 to 2 story heights within the neighborhood, and a traditional kind of brick finish compatible with the neighborhood character. Next slide, please. In terms of the requested minor variance, the most important, I guess, is the lot area. The current zoning bylaw establishes a lot requirement, which is dated in when the existing area was developed. Doesn't really acknowledge some of the existing site-specific conditions around here in terms of this end of the block context and some of the change in character. The neighborhood policies do not require exact replication of the existing lot fabric, but rather something that is compatible and will generally fit in. In the existing neighborhood, there is a variety of lot frontages and lot sizes from 9 to 36 meters, and some lots that are larger and some that are smaller. With a 16 meter frontage and a 343 foot square meter lot, we feel it will be fit within that existing range. I will deal with the lot coverage and FSI at the same time. We're going from 33 to 35 for the coverage and 60 to 63% for FSI. The purpose of the bylaw is really to establish a suitable relationship between the house and the lot and the coverage. We think it maintains this. It still has adequate separation, amenity and landscaping, and that relationship is appropriate. In terms of the front yard setbacks under the parent zone, it has this averaging that you just heard about, and really the existing bylaw requires 6 meters and we are going to be at 6.2. The average is really because of the existing dwelling on Dale, and that will be removed. So that consideration is no longer relevant.
Okay. Bruce, sorry to interrupt you, Bruce, but you need to start wrapping it up. You're almost done with your time.
Yeah. Variance 5 is the rear yard. We're really maintaining the existing setback to the main wall. Variance 6 is the height, and it's a 0.8 height difference, really to reflect the intended character of a raised first level and a tall expression. In conclusion, it's our opinion that regard has been had for matters of provincial interest under Section 2 and the criteria under Section 5124, and the proposed lots are not premature, and in overall, the proposal satisfies the 4 tests under the Planning Act. Thank you very much, and I apologize for going over.
No problem at all, Bruce. Thank you for the presentation. This was very helpful. I would now request the committee members, if there's any questions for Bruce at this time. We also have a resident who's going to be speaking. Any questions at this time? Okay, I see none. Thank you, Bruce. We will now speak with the neighbors. Yiching Wu and Ming Zheng, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Could you please advise us of your concerns on this application? And you have 5 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes. My name is Yiching Wu, and my wife Ming Zheng. We are the owners of 32 Saunders, which is we are the immediate neighbors to this property.
And sorry, before you do that, sorry, Yinching, to interrupt you, really apologize. But just so you know, we do have your letter on file with us. We have reviewed it. So if there's in addition to what you've mentioned in your letter, we'll be happy to hear.
Okay. Yeah. We share 100 foot of the entire property boundary. So I just want to say, first of all, that we wish, this is a major project that's going just right next to our house, which will have a significant impact to us. I wish the owner and developer would have consulted us and rather not acting as if the neighbors did not exist. So we had troubles. We expressed in the letter that we had troubles with the tenants of the living in the house, noise, loud parties, garbage overflow to our side, because there's no physical boundary. I mean, there's no fence. Just like there are some trees. So we have problems. In the past, we have communicated with them, but didn't really get better. So now we're really concerned. So in terms of the several these variances, we have the greatest concern with the variance number 1, which is the minimum lot size by chopping it into half. This is, I think, this is not, it's not a minor variance by any standards, whether numerical or whatever. The applicant has expressed in the cover letter that talking about the mixed style of the neighborhood, but without really mentioning too much that this lot is unique in the sense that while it does have a 100-foot frontage, but it is particularly shallow. 17 feet lot is particularly shallow. I mean, the lots on these neighborhoods, on these streets, on Dales and on the immediate streets, on the centers, are typically between 150 to 200. So even the townhouses in Kinglands and also on the next block, I mean, those are not, by the way, those townhouses are not mixed in the neighborhood. They're separate developments by themselves. So the neighborhood actually has a pretty unique and consistent style, look, character by itself. And we don't really have within several blocks walking distance, I mean, at least several block walking distance, really this kind of severed lots kind of projects. And by 70, depth, this is really, I think this is not a minor variance. If this is to be approved, then I think, this is either they'll change the zoning law, that change, which is, then will be fine, or then it will set a precedent for other projects. For example, our next door neighbor, the house between us and the applicant, the subject property, 34 Saunders, that's between us, which was just recently bought by a new owner developer. So, and we heard that, they're going to do the same thing. So it's exactly the same lot size, 70 by 100. So they're going to do exactly the same thing. And also there are other two houses on Dale 7 and Dale 5, which according to the application's letter, they're going to be demolished in the Metrolinx, the regrading, Metrolinx Scarborough Golf Course Road regrading project. So one of the key assumptions to this application, which supports the proposed minor variance, quote unquote minor variance, is that because those two houses are going to be demolished, so the subject property is going to be the end unit, which is probably not going to be true because Metrolinx has revised its plan after the application has been submitted. So, and they revised its plan. So these two houses, Dale 7 and Dale 5, according to the new plan, as far as we are aware of, they're not going to be impacted. They're going to stay. So, so we're talking about 4 properties on the south side of Dale, which is exactly the same lot size, 100 frontage to 70 depth. So if this is going to be severed, then at least the next one, Sounder 34 between us and the subject property is going to be severed very soon. And the other two, if they're sold after the Metrolinx project, they're likely to be sold to developers. They're going to do the same thing. So that's really going to set a precedent, and to start a.
Okay. So just sorry to interrupt you. You have 20 seconds left. So if you can start wrapping up.
So we expressed various issues in our letter about the possible drainage issues because the elevation of their property is actually higher than us. So we have water issues in our yard. We have high water tables. So we need to discuss. And also another major thing is that we looked at the architecture plan and the design of the house. There are lots of windows on their backside, huge windows, lots of windows. Basically, like the entire wall is like their windows and huge patio doors. So there's no consideration of minimized privacy issues, or any of these issues. The laundry room, the bathroom, there's huge windows, 72. Staircases has huge windows. So we need some discussion. We need some discussion.
Fair enough.
So if they can wrap up with a high fence to mitigate this. So we can discuss, and they need to go back to look at the Metrolinx, the revised plan.
Okay. No, thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. I just want to confirm you have with you Ming Zheng as well. Is she also speaking?
Okay.
Yeah, can I speak?
No, I just want to say that because you were registered, I wanted to give you a chance to
Yeah.
say, is there anything else that you want to add? We heard Yi Ching. Is there anything else that you want to add? You don't have to repeat.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you for the chance to speak briefly. So my major concern is the the privacy and also
Okay.
the killing of the trees. There are 17 trees on the property. They're only going to preserve 7 or something, and the big ones are going to be killed. 3 of them are going to be killed. The rest are going to be injured.
Okay.
So
Okay.
and this neighborhood, if you come to have a look, it's full of trees, and they're just setting a really, really bad, precedent. And
Okay.
also, they one last a point on the south of Dale Avenue. The example he gives is like way like to our east, north, west, and south, but directly on the south of Dale, there's only single like family homes, like
Okay.
and with mature trees and everything. So
Okay.
it's going to change the look. That's yeah, those right.
No,
And the setback, yeah, it's there. Okay, I'm okay now. Thank you.
okay. No, I didn't want to cut you off, but I just wanted to make sure that because we heard Yi Ching speak to all the variances. We have the letter before us, which was also co-signed by yourself. So I'm happy to hear more. You have some concern with the trees on the property and the windows and the privacy. 2 things I can say is that drainage matters are something that are outside of our purview. So whenever construction will happen, and however it happens, the relevant departments, such as the building department, will ensure that all the drainage is self-contained and there's no impact of this development on the adjacent lands, okay? With respect to the trees, we can certainly have Mr. Bruce speak to those as well. All right, thank you. Before you leave, members of the committee, any questions for Yi Ching and Ming? Okay, I see none. Thank you very much. Bruce, can we have you back?
Hello.
Hi. Okay. So, Bruce, you heard the concerns raised by the neighbors. Would you like to respond to it?
Yes, I certainly would. In addition to that, I would also point out that I reviewed their letter, and I thought rather than dealing with it in my presentation, I would deal with it afterwards to preserve as much time as I could to present.
Okay.
I think I'll deal with 3 things. I will deal with the Metrolinx question, and I will deal with the compatibility and the views between their property and the proposed lots, and then I will deal with the trees.
Okay.
As it relates to Metrolinx, we've been at this for quite a while with our client in the city. We met with community planning 2 times. We had pre-consultations with Victor Gottwald, and we had discussed in the beginning a number of different options for this site, including looking at townhouses and semis and singles. And the view of city planning was, yes, there is some change in context, and yes, this is a site that could warrant some intensification, but we really want to see a single detached form. At the end of the day, planning was supportive of us coming through committee of adjustment with 2 single detached lots, as shown. With respect to the resident, I respectfully disagree. There is a relationship with that development across the street. It is directly across the street from this lot, and it does share some interface and relationship. We're not proposing anything as small or compact as that development. Those lots are much smaller than we are proposing. Their FSI is up around 0.8 or 0.9, but we think that the intensification on this lot provides for a good transition from there down to the neighborhood to the south, the area to the south. With respect to the Metrolinx plans themselves, the best information we have is what we have in front of us. We had tried for a long time to get information from Metrolinx. They had provided us with some plans that we had to agree not to share with anybody. We've kind of encapsulated what that involves, and we have heard nothing contrary. I'm not disagreeing with the resident. It's just this is the information we have before us. We understand that they expropriated, they own those houses. Whether they intend to follow through on the demolition or not, I am not sure, but it's definitely registers with some sort of change, because they are still going to be changing grades and dealing with some modifications to the existing context. With respect to the relationship between the dwellings, the residents had some images. I don't know if Mr. Cardona can put them up.
How much time? Oh, okay.
Am I limited in time to my response as well?
No, I was just checking the time. That's okay.
Sorry, I will try to be efficient.
It's perfect.
I will say that the view we're seeing here is a 90-degree view. The new houses will not have any direct facing windows. They will be perpendicular to one another. The east wall of 9B, Dale, will have no side windows. It's a blank sidewall in order to ensure privacy. The bylaw requires a 0.9 meter setback. It's going to be set back 1.5 meters. What's happening with respect to the existing dwelling, and you can see there's sort of a corner which the existing dwelling juts out. The new dwelling will be pushed back further north and go further east. If there was a new dwelling being constructed on this lot as it exists today, they could build to within a meter and a half of the lot line under the bylaw, so it wouldn't be a dramatic difference from what's proposed. I would think any new development also would likely have a similar approach to the rear yard setback. This lot is 21 meters deep. You cannot meet both the existing bylaw front yard and rear yard setbacks and develop any sort of viable house at about 18 feet deep on this property. Even the existing house does not meet the bylaw with respect to rear and front yard setbacks. Sorry, with respect to rear yard setbacks. In terms of the existing dwelling and this view, as I said, the corner of 9B, in that upper window in that dwelling is going to be a bathroom and a master bathroom with a tub at that corner. So it's not sort of a primary window. And then there's some closets beside it. And the next room over will be a den. There's a proposal for a fence. I'm not sure whether it shows it on here. That's certainly something that my client will do. I think that's enough on that. With respect to the trees, in terms of the arborist report, the arborist report does not distinguish when it says injure, whether a tree is going to be removed or maintained. There are 3 trees that are in fact going to be removed, and they are at the southwest corner of the property, basically where the garage exists today. There's one very large tree, which is a, pardon me, which is a Siberian elm. It's the largest tree. It is in very poor condition. It is, I forget the technical term, but it is grown out of a existing slab and sits between the garage. The other 2 trees are of significantly smaller caliper, and they are cedars, and they are as well in fair to poor condition. The primary focus is maintaining some of the existing shrubs and cedars along the property line, which provide a buffer. And all those will be maintained along both the south and east side of the property. The pictures that you saw are obviously taken during the winter season. During the summer, there's a lot more foliage, which will basically presently shields the view of that house from the existing house and would simulate with the new house. I think I will leave it at that.
Okay, appreciate that. And Urban Forestry has reviewed your plans, and we didn't see any concerns from them. They do have a condition, and that's about it. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Sorry.
We are fine with that condition, by the way.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Appreciate that. All right, Brian, can we have the screen back up? So at this time, members of the committee, any question for Bruce? No question? Okay, all right. Well, thank you, Bruce, for your time. Appreciate that. Before we go into committee, any comments to wrap up? Bruce?
No, I am good. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. All right. So committee members, there are no questions or comments for Bruce at this time, so we take the matter into committee. And please, any comment, any deliberation? Member M?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in general, I do appreciate that this will be a change from what currently is on the south side of Dale Avenue, but I do agree with Mr. Hale that you can see that there is a mix of types of built form in this community of various different intensities, and that this could definitely be an appropriate transition between a more dense built form, such as the townhouses that are to the north, as well as further to the south. That being said, these are still going to be single detached homes. It's not like it's going to a semi or a townhouse configuration. There is still very generous side yards being provided to more than the bylaw is required. And so, like Mr. Hale said, even if they were not to go after a severance and just rebuild this house, they could rebuild much closer to the speaker today to his house.
Correct.
As of right with the side yard setback. So we have to keep that in mind as well. The main issue I have here is, do we want to start considering smaller lots in this area? Because it is a smaller lot, like a significantly smaller lot than what is required today. There is no frontage, it's just a lot area requirement I'm seeing here.
That's correct. It exceeds the minimum lot frontage.
Yeah, so that to me signifies that if the lot frontage is appropriate, it's merely the lot area that's not being met because this is a more shallow parcel of land. And really, from the streetscape in the greater community, you're not going to really see that. But it does influence what may happen in the future with other lots, especially with the Metrolinx lots. Metrolinx is in the business these days of transit-oriented development, so you never know what they will do with those lands after the fact. But that being said, generally I'm supportive of this application. There is a multitude of different types of built form and densities within the immediate area, so I do feel that it's appropriate, and I do feel that it meets the general intent of the official plan for this neighborhood. And I'm just going to pass the floor off to any of my colleagues to see if they feel differently.
Okay. Just as a comment, and sorry, Mr. Hall, you're aware of the conditions of Metrolinx, correct? And do you have any concerns with that?
No, we're fine with them. They're pretty standard.
All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Sorry, members of the committee. Amy provided her comments. Any further comments? Okay. Member Macaulay.
I'm just going to add to what Amy has said. Again, this is an area that is going to be changed. We have Metrolinx, but we also have the rail line that goes east-west just to the north here, and that's the main GO line. So there's substantial noise and substantial change with it. And with that, there has been a change over the years of townhouses to the north of this on Dale. I think that this proposal actually provides a good transition from the townhouses to the north to the larger lots to the south that are on Saunders. It is desirable that they maintain as many trees as possible. That is what has been mentioned, and provide fencing, which also has been mentioned. I think that given everything, this has been worked out as a good transition for the property.
Thank you, Member Macaulay. Any further comments? If there, Member Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think a little bit differently. Yes, the points given by Mr. Bruce, the information given was very solid and very technical. I totally agree with that. Also with the viewpoint of our members. But I still have a different opinion as far as the lot size is concerned, variance number 1.
Okay.
Yes, the transition is good. It could have a positive effect, but at the same time, the trend could not be that positive. It may set up a precedent, especially in the Dale Avenue. I understand. I have been to this area. As far as the townhouses are concerned, they are at a distance. There is they are not that by the avenue. Metrolinx developments are taking place, but again, the Metrolinx plan is very clear, and it's not going to affect the character of the street, which the Dale Avenue have. So I have my reservations. I mean, if this was, the lot size was okay, I am okay with the rest of the variances. Frontage is even not the problem, but the size.
Okay.
So I think a little bit differently from that point of view.
Okay, thank you. Member M.
If we were looking at the emerging character slide that Mr. Hal had presented, you'll clearly see that the townhouses are right across the street, Mohammed. So they're not far away. They're literally on the other side of Dale. And then you'll also see to the right, there are houses that appear very, very close together as well. So where the difference really is in the rear yard. You will not see that big, deep rear yard, but the streetscape of Dale will be very consistent to what is directly east of you and directly to the north. So, I mean, I'd like to politely disagree with you. I do think it's appropriate in the immediate vicinity of Dale to have a lot that is already permitted, like the lot frontage is already permitted. It's just the area, which is not overly visible
Okay.
from a community perspective.
Okay, if I can just sort of jump in. Mohammed, you had some reservations. Appreciate that. You had a concern with the variance. Member M, you had your comments. We heard Member Macaulay. Brian, can I see the screen? Sorry about that. All right. So I think we had a good discussion. I'm prepared for a motion at this time. It's 3 o'clock. We need a motion. Member Macaulay, go ahead.
Okay, I have to unmute. I recommend approval of the consent and variance applications as submitted, subject to the conditions that have been included in our reports. And note that there's also a tree preservation condition.
Okay, so we have a condition from Urban Forestry. We have conditions from Metrolinx. We probably have standard conditions of consent, and we also have. Just want to check. There are advisory comments from Engineering Services. Okay, there are no particular conditions there. Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the application. May I have a seconder, Member M?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor of this motion? All opposed? Okay, Member Said opposes the motion. The motion is carried. The applications have been approved subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of our agenda. We have no other business? We do?
Through the chair, I don't believe you have any other business. I think I just wanted to point out
Appeals?
appeals.
Okay.
Yes, that was it, and that's more just a
FYI.
FOI.
Okay, so we have, for our information, there's an appeal to 105 Pitfield Road. It was refused by the committee and has been appealed by the applicant. And there are no further appeals as of today. Dates of the next meeting, February 17, 2021. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll put forward that motion to adjourn, but I just wanted to say congratulations, everybody, on our first virtual meeting together.
Yes, yes,
It went
congratulations.
very well.
Yeah. You all did a great
Okay.
job. Thank you very much, committee members. Appreciate your assistance and cooperation. We had a great day. And look, we'll see you next month. Take care. Have a good night.
Take care, everybody.
That brings
Good
us to the
night.
end of the meeting. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.